The first time I heard knocking from inside the freezer, I thought it was just the pipes. I wish it was. I know how it sounds, like a setup for a joke or a ghost story told during a blackout. But what I'm about to tell you is real, and if I go missing, you'll know where to look. Start with freezer number 6. I was broke. I mean really broke. Sleeping on a friend's couch, eating cheap instant noodles, kind of broke. So when I saw the listing for a night shift job at a frozen food warehouse, I applied without thinking. Freezer Corp, cold storage, $18 an hour. Night shifts, minimal interaction. That sounded perfect. I didn't want people. I wanted quiet. I wanted money. And most of all, I wanted to be left alone. The warehouse was on the edge of town, in an industrial zone most people didn't even know existed. The building looked normal enough, huge, gray, and ugly. The inside, though, was freezing. Even the offices felt like a meat locker. I was issued a thick jacket, gloves, and a badge on my first day. My supervisor was a tired-looking guy named Carl. He didn't talk much, just showed me the basics. Move the shipments from the truck to the freezers. Check the temps. No wandering. Don't mess with freezer 6. I blinked. Freezer 6. He gave me a weird look. The back left unit. You'll know it when you see it. Leave it alone. That was it. No explanation. Just don't mess with it. Naturally, I got curious. The first week went by fine. The work was mindless. Unpack boxes, scan barcodes, stack pallets. Most of the freezers were just massive metal rooms filled with crates of frozen meats, vegetables, sometimes ice cream. The cold stung my face every time I opened a unit, but I got used to it. I kept thinking about freezer 6, though it was set off in its own corner, like it had been added later. The other freezers had numbers stenciled in neat black paint. Freezer 6 had no label. The metal on the door looked older, and the seal around it was worn down, like something had been pushing from the inside. Once, when I was passing by, I heard something strange. A soft, steady thump, thump, thump. It sounded like knocking. I froze. No pun intended. The sound was quiet, but rhythmic, like someone tapping with the side of a fist. I pressed my ear against the cold metal door. Silence. Then, a whisper. Faint, garbled, like someone speaking underwater. I jumped back so hard I knocked over a plastic crate. It shattered on the concrete, but there was no one around to hear it. I told myself it was just the pipes. Old buildings made weird sounds, right? By the end of the second week, I had started asking around. There were only 3 other night shift workers. One of them, Malik, was the only one who would actually talk. When I mentioned freezer 6, he just shook his head. Forget about it, man. Seriously. Come on, I said. Is it haunted or something? He looked me dead in the eye. People used to joke like that. Now we don't. That thing's been here longer than the building. Just do your work and go home. Longer than the building. He didn't answer. That night, I walked past freezer 6 again. It was late, almost 4 a.m., and the warehouse was dead silent. Even the machines seemed to hum quieter. The air felt heavier. I paused by the door. The seal looked even worse than I remembered. I reached out and ran my gloved hand along the side. That's when I noticed it. A tiny seam in the back wall of the freezer. Not the door, the inside wall, visible through the inspection window. A vertical line, faint but sharp, as if there was a second door inside. I blinked and looked again. Yup, definitely a seam. Perfectly vertical, barely visible. It wasn't on any other freezer. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it through the window. The light flickered, like the glass didn't want to cooperate. I adjusted the beam, and that's when I saw something move. Just for a second, a shape, at the edge of the light, way in the back of the freezer. It didn't make sense. The freezer was only 20 feet deep. But that thing, it was too far back. I stumbled away, breath catching in my throat. When I turned the light off and looked again, the seam was gone. So was the shape. I didn't sleep when I got home. Just laid there with the covers pulled to my chin, thinking about that seam in the wall, about what could be behind it. The next night, I came in early. Carl wasn't around, and the cameras were old and spotty. I knew which ones didn't work. I grabbed a crowbar from the loading dock and waited until everyone was on break. Then I walked straight to freezer 6. It was colder than usual. I could see my breath fogging in the air, even through my thick scarf. I opened the freezer. The blast of cold air made my eyes sting. My boots crunched over frost as I stepped inside. The lights flickered. I walked to the back wall, toward the place I'd seen the seam. I ran my hand over the smooth metal. At first, there was nothing. Then click. Something shifted. The wall creaked, and a panel moved inward, revealing a narrow, hidden door. No handle, no hinges, just a black rectangle in the ice-covered steel. And from the other side came that same soft knocking thump, 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 and a whispered low, wet, hungry. That's when Carl's voice rang out behind me. Get out of there now. I turned. He was standing at the entrance, flashlight in one hand, face pale. You opened it, he said, voice shaking. I didn't. Mean to you touched the wall. Carl, what the hell is behind? Get out. I backed out quickly. He slammed the freezer shut and locked it with a padlock I'd never seen before. Then he turned to me and said the last thing I expected. You opened it. That means it knows you now, and it's not gonna stop. I haven't gone back to work since. I've been trying to forget what I saw, what I heard. But last night, I found ice on my apartment floor. I don't have a freezer. I didn't sleep at all after what happened. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that thin black door inside the freezer, and I swear I could still hear the knocking. Not in my ears, but deeper. Inside my bones. After Carl caught me, I figured I'd be fired, but no one called. No email, no warnings, nothing. It was like they didn't even care that I went inside freezer 6. But something had changed. I could feel it. I started noticing weird things around my apartment. The bathroom mirror had a thin sheet of frost on it one morning. My windows were shut tight, but the inside corners were crusted with tiny specks of ice. I live on the 3rd floor. There's no way for cold air to come in like that. And then, 2 nights ago, I found something that made my blood go cold. A small puddle of water near my bedroom closet. Not from a leak, not from the sink. Just there, with a few wet footprints next to it. But they weren't mine. I tried to go back to normal. Told myself I was imagining things. That maybe I was just overtired or stressed. But I knew the truth. That thing in the freezer had touched me. And now, it was following me. I called Carl the next day. Freezer Corp. He answered like always, his voice tired and dry. It's me. I need to know what's going on, I said. There's something wrong. Ever since I touched that wall, weird stuff's been happening. There was silence on the line. Then Carl said, you need to move. What? Get out of your apartment. Leave the city if you can. Whatever's in there. It doesn't like being disturbed. You said it knows me now. What does that mean? Carl exhaled slowly. It remembers everyone who's touched that wall. He paused. They all vanished. Sometimes days later, sometimes weeks. But they always vanish. Where do they go? Another pause. Then he said, quietly, they get pulled back in. That night, I decided to dig deeper. I went online and started searching. Everything I could. Freezer Corp, accidents, warehouse disappearances, hidden freezer rooms, cold storage, urban legends. I didn't find much, but I did come across a forum thread from years ago. Buried deep in a conspiracy, subreddit. It was titled, "The Warehouse That Eats People, East Industrial Zone." There were only a few comments. One user said, "Worked there in 2013. One of the freezers had a second door inside. Supervisor told us not to go near it. One guy did. Gone the next night. No cops. Just a closed shift and a new worker the next week." Another posted, "I used to deliver there. One night, I saw ice fog coming out of a closed unit. Not normal. Even the truck freezer wasn't that cold. Then the thread was locked. That's when I made a stupid decision. I went back. I had to know what was behind that door. I had to see it for myself. I told myself I'd just look. Maybe take a photo. Just proof I wasn't going crazy. I waited until after midnight and drove to the warehouse. The back fence was unlocked, probably left open by accident. The loading dock was dark. The place was too quiet, even for night, inside. The temperature was worse than I remembered. I walked past the rows of freezers, breath steaming, boots echoing on the concrete. My fingers were numb even with gloves on. The lights flickered more than usual, humming like old wires full of static. I reached freezer 6, still unmarked, still sealed with that heavy padlock Carl used. But the lock was open, just dangling from the latch, done almost like it was waiting for me. I hesitated. Every part of me screamed to leave, but I couldn't. I opened the door inside. The air was like knives on my skin. I stepped in slowly, my flashlight trembling in my hand. The crates were still there, stacked high on both sides like icy walls. And at the far end, the hidden door was still open, a black rectangle in the metal wall, leading to darkness. I walked closer. This time, I noticed something new. Symbols scratched into the frame around the doorway, strange lines and curves, almost like letters, but not in any language I knew. Some of them shimmered faintly when the light passed over them, like frost catching sunlight. I leaned closer. Then, from the darkness inside the door, I heard it breathing, slow, wet, rattling, then a voice, colder. "Come closer." I dropped the flashlight. It clattered to the floor, and for a moment the light rolled into the doorway. That's when I saw it eyes. At least I think they were eyes. Glassy, pale, too many of them. Pressed up against the darkness, just beyond the threshold, staring at me, watching me. Waiting, I ran, slipped on the frost, scraped my hands, didn't care. I sprinted out of the freezer, out of the warehouse, and into the cold night. I didn't stop until I was home. That was last night. Today, I found something under my bed, a small handprint in the dust, and a trail of melting water leading to my closet. I opened the closet. Nothing inside, but the air was freezing. It got out. I think I brought it back with me, and now my freezer hums even when it's unplugged. I don't think I live alone anymore. Last night, something knocked from inside my closet wall, and it said my name. I haven't slept in 2 days. Every time I shut my eyes, I see that black door from the freezer, and the thing behind it. And now, it's not just inside the warehouse anymore. It followed me home. At first it was just the puddles, then the frost on my mirror, then the handprint under my bed. But last night, something changed. The apartment got cold. Way too cold. I woke up around 3 a.m., shivering in my blankets. My breath hung in the air like mist. I checked the thermostat. It said 27 degrees Celsius. That was a lie. My body felt like it was in a walk-in freezer. I got up to grab a hoodie, and that's when I heard it, SCRRRAAAAPE. Like something sliding across the floor. I froze. The sound came from the kitchen. I crept forward slowly, trying not to make any noise. Every floorboard creaked under me, loud in the silence. I turned the corner. Nothing there, but the freezer door on my fridge was open, wide open. Inside, the light was off. Just darkness and cold fog pouring out. I swear, I saw something move in, there, just for a second. A flicker of a shadow, too big for that space. I slammed the door shut, and that's when I heard the first voice. It came from inside the wall, right behind the kitchen tiles, muffled, distant, like someone whispering through a tunnel. It didn't say words at first, just strange sounds, watery syllables, echoing and wrong. But as I leaned in, it changed. The voice said, "You opened the door. Then, it remembers. Then, hello." My name. My blood ran cold. It knew who I was. It had followed me. It had learned. I backed away from the wall, heart pounding. Then I grabbed my keys and ran out of the apartment in my pajamas. I drove around until sunrise, didn't stop, didn't think, just kept moving, hoping the sun would make things feel normal again. It didn't. When I finally got back, home around 7 a.m., everything looked normal, too normal. The puddles were gone. The frost had melted. Even the air felt warmer. But something was off. There were wet footprints on the carpet, leading from the freezer to my bedroom. And there, on my pillow, was a single ice cube, perfectly shaped, perfectly clear. And inside, something was trapped, a tiny eye, floating frozen, looking right at me. I called Carl again. This time, he answered on the first ring. "I told you not to go back," he said, voice tight. "I need help," I said. "It followed me. It's in my house." Carl didn't sound surprised. "You opened the inner door," he said. "It's not just cold storage. That wall, the one you touched, it's not a wall. Then what is it? A barrier? Between what and what?" Another long pause. Then Carl whispered, "Between here and whatever was frozen behind it." He told me that Freezer Corp didn't build Freezer 6. The building had been there long before the company took over. The freezer wasn't part of the original blueprint. It was already here, Carl said. Already locked, already humming. They kept it closed, monitored the temperature, made sure nothing got in or out. But then someone opened it, just like I did, 10 years ago. The man disappeared 2 weeks later. They never found a body, Carl said. Just frost trails and strange whispers on the security cams. I asked him what it wanted. "I don't know," he said. "But it's hungry, not for food, for presence. It wants to be seen, heard, known. Once it touches you, you carry a part of it. So how do I get rid of it?" "You don't," Carl said. "You contain it. You go back, seal the door, lock it from the inside if you have to. That's suicide. Maybe, but if you don't, it'll keep spreading, from you, to others." That night, I made a choice. I packed a bag, grabbed my flashlight, my phone, and a crowbar. I drove back to the warehouse one last time. When I got there, the building was dark. The windows were covered in frost from the inside. My breath clouded before I even reached the door. Inside, the lights flickered dimly. Some were already dead, and down the long hallway, Freezer 6 stood open, wide open, waiting. Fog spilled out onto the floor. The air was thick and still, like the moment before a storm. I stepped inside, every inch of my body screaming to run. The crates were gone. The room was empty, all except for the black door at the far end, and the thing standing beside it. It was tall, thin, pale as bone. Its skin shimmered with frost. Its eyes, if they were eyes, were wide and milky, dozens of them blinking in different rhythms. Its mouth opened, no tongue, no teeth, just cold. A fog that spilled out with each breath. Then it spoke. "You brought me home. Now bring me more." I ran again. I think that's all I ever do now. But tonight, I can hear it in the vents, scraping, breathing, and whispering my name. I thought I was alone in the freezer. I was wrong. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. Something was off. It wasn't just cold. It felt Watched. The frost on the floor was thicker than before, like it had been untouched for years. I walked slowly toward the back. That's when I saw them dot shapes, at least 4 of them, frozen solid. Upright against the wall. People, they weren't bodies, lying down. They were standing, like someone had placed them there, or they froze while still. Alive. Eyes wide open, mouths frozen, mid-scream. Some of them were in uniforms. Warehouse workers. Maybe. One was a kid. I backed away, heart racing. That's when I noticed something behind them. The wall had a seam, a faint outline, like a hidden door. Frost lined its edges, pulsing slightly, like it was breathing. No handle, no buttons. Just there, waiting. Then the lights flickered, and I swear, I heard a voice from behind that wall. A low whisper. Not yet. I ran. But even as I escaped the freezer, one thought followed me. What if those people didn't get locked? And what if they came from the other side? I stepped through the door, and I don't think I ever really came back, because I saw what's inside. I saw them. It was like falling into a dream. Not a normal one, a cold dream, sharp, bright, silent. Everything around me was frozen solid, but I could still move, still breathe. Even though there was no air, the ground was glass. No, not glass, ice. Crystal clear and stretching in every direction, like a dead ocean, under my feet. I could see the faces, thousands of them, men, women, children. Some wore lab coats, others old military uniforms. Some were naked, like they'd been stripped before being frozen. Their eyes followed me. Their mouths moved, but no sound came out. They were alive, somehow locked in a state between motion and death, trapped in whatever this place was, and I felt it, deep in my bones. This is what waits on the other side of the door. I walked across the ice, drawn forward by a sound, a humming, low, rhythmic, mechanical, and alive, and in the distance, I saw it, a black spire, rising out of the ice like a monolith. As I got closer, I saw the base of it was surrounded by cracks in the ice, deep, jagged, like claws had tried to tear their way in, or out. And at the foot of the spire was something not human. It stood still, tall, pale, smooth like wax. Its head had no eyes, no mouth, just a slit, wide and vertical, leaking fog with each pulse. It turned toward me, even though it had no face, and I felt it see me. Not just my body, everything, my thoughts, my memories, my name, my fear. The moment it focused on me, something shifted in my chest, like a second heartbeat, waking up. One of us, it whispered, but not with words. You opened the door. You let us in. Now, let yourself in. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. All around me, the frozen faces started to change. Their features twisted, shifted, became like the pale thing, smooth, eyeless, silent. They weren't trapped. They were becoming the ice cracked under my feet. I dropped to my knees. My breath formed crystals in the air and froze mid-fall, like even time was starting to break. And then, the ice below me shattered. I fell through. I was underwater, but not wet, just floating. Dark shapes swam past me, big ones, ancient, forgotten, their bodies made of teeth and frost. They whispered in strange, broken languages. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the feeling. They weren't angry. They were waiting for me. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my arm, warm, human. I looked up. Carl, or what was left of him? His face was sunken, his eyes clouded, but I knew it was him. He pulled me out of the ice, back through the crack, back into the frozen hall, back to the door. You still have time, he said. It hasn't finished with you yet, but once it takes your voice, you're gone. Then he shoved me. I flew backward, hit the floor hard, and just like that, I was back in Freezer 6. The black door was still open behind me, and in the fog, the pale shape still stood, watching me. Not crossing the threshold. Not yet, but closer, always closer. I ran. Again, stumbled out of the warehouse. Drove until I couldn't see straight. Parked in the middle of nowhere. And now, I'm sitting here, writing all this down, because I think it's happening again. My breath is fogging. The frost is spreading across the windshield, and in the side mirror, I just saw someone sitting in the back seat. But when I turn around, no one's there, and the worst part, I think I'm forgetting my own voice, like it's slipping away. Bit by bit, I tried calling my sister earlier, and nothing came out. No sound, just silence. That's what it wants. It doesn't just freeze your body, it freezes your name, your thoughts, your identity. It erases you from time, if you're listening to this. If you've seen the door, don't open it. If it calls you, don't answer. Because once it knows you, once it speaks your name, you're already one of the frozen. I tried to run. I tried to leave the state. But every road I take leads back to the warehouse. It's like the door is following me now. I drove for 10 hours straight. No music, no stops, just highway. The air was warm. The sun was up. For a while, I thought maybe, just maybe, I had escaped it. But then I saw the sign. Route 18, East Industrial Zone, Freezer Corp Distribution. The exact same exit I passed before. Only this time, it was 2 states over. It shouldn't have been possible. But somehow, I had looped right back to the warehouse. I turned the car around, took back roads, used GPS, switched highways, followed random directions. Every single route circled back, no matter what I did. I always ended up here, at the dead end, by the frozen lot, in front of the warehouse with the frost-covered door. The air felt colder than before, even though it was spring, even though I was in full sunlight. And then I noticed something else. The birds weren't singing. The wind had stopped. Time itself felt stuck, like the world was holding its breath, waiting. I sat in my car for an hour, trying to figure out what to do. I didn't want to go back in, but I couldn't stay out here forever either. And then I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror, and I froze, because the me in the mirror wasn't moving. His eyes were wide, pale, unblinking, and he was smiling. I spun around, nothing there, but when I looked back at the mirror, it was empty, no reflection, just black fog rolling across the glass. Then the engine died. The radio turned on by itself. Through the static, I heard a voice. "Why are you running?" Then laughter, then silence. I stepped out of the car. Frost formed under my shoes. Cracks spread across the pavement like frozen veins. The warehouse door slowly creaked open by itself. Freezer 6 was calling me back. This time, I didn't try to sneak in. I walked straight through the main floor. No workers, no noise. The lights flickered, and one by one, shut off behind me. By the time I reached the freezer door, the entire building was dark. Only the red exit sign behind me stayed on, but even that light looked dimmer. The black door inside freezer 6 was still open. Fog poured from it, and inside the fog, I saw shapes moving. Tall, thin things. Not running, just pacing, waiting. I took a deep breath and stepped toward the door, and that's when I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around, heart in my throat. A man stood there, tall, gray uniform, clean-shaven face. But something was wrong. He didn't blink, didn't breathe. He smiled and said, "You should have stayed out." I backed up. He stepped forward. "Now you're part of the system." Suddenly, the temperature dropped. Hard ice raced across the walls. The man began to glitch, like a video buffering, twitching frame by frame, and then he vanished right in front of me. I looked back at the black door. Now it was glowing. A deep blue light pulsed inside, and in the distance, I heard bells, not church bells. These were deep, metallic, like something waking, up calling, welcoming. I know what it wants now. It wants me to step inside. It wants me to step inside. It wants me to join the others. But here's the part that scares me the most. I think I already have. My fingertips are always cold now. My reflection doesn't blink when I do. And sometimes, I forget my name, even when I say it out loud. It sounds wrong, like it doesn't belong to me anymore. I'm not sure how much longer I have. The door is always open now, in every screen, every mirror, every quiet moment, and I hear my own voice, whispering back to me. Let it in, let it freeze, let it become you. If you're watching this, if you've ever felt a cold spot where there shouldn't be one, if a freezer door swings open by itself, run. Don't listen to the voice. Don't look in the mirror. Because once you start hearing the bells, it's already too late. The voice is louder now. Even when I plug my ears, I can still hear it. It's inside me, inside my head, and it keeps repeating one word, colder. I didn't go home after the last time. I couldn't. The door in freezer 6. It doesn't just stay in the warehouse anymore. It follows me. I've seen it in reflections, in puddles, elevator doors, dark windows at night. Sometimes I even catch glimpses of it when I blink. And always, that same voice. Low, hollow, familiar. It sounds like me, but not me. A few nights ago I tried staying in a motel, middle of nowhere, no Wi-Fi, no phone signal, nothing. I thought, maybe I could break the connection, get some sleep. Just a few hours. But around 2 a.m., I woke up freezing. The air conditioner was off. The window was shut, but frost had spread across the floor, and on the mirror above the sink, 5 words were written in the ice. You are not warm, ENOUGH. I stared at the writing, and for a moment, it stared back. The letters moved, shifting, squirming like tiny worms in the glass. Then I heard a voice from the bathroom drain, whispering my name, over and over. You left us behind. We waited. We still remember. Come back. Come back colder. I ran out of the motel barefoot. Didn't even take my bag. Drove 4 hours again. This time until the gas ran out. The sun was rising, but it didn't help. The sky looked frozen, like a painting. Still, empty. And that's when I saw something impossible, in the middle of the highway. Carl. He stood there, blocking the road, same as before, pale skin, frozen eyes. But this time he wasn't alone. Behind him were dozens of others, all frostbitten, all silent, their bodies stiff like mannequins. Their mouths opened wide like they were screaming, but no sound came out. And then they pointed, all of them, at me. Suddenly, the car dashboard lit up, every warning light blinking red. The radio switched on static again, but this time, a new voice came through. Not mine, not Carl's. Something ancient, something wet and cold and deep, it whispered. You crossed the door, you let the echo in, now the ice must grow. Then the radio exploded. I woke up later, on the side of the road. No people, no cars, but there were footprints in the frost all around me. Hundreds of them, leading away from the car, back toward the woods, back toward the warehouse. I didn't want to go, but my body felt pulled, like gravity was dragging me. And as I walked, I noticed the trees looked strange. Their trunks were black, and their leaves had turned to ice flakes, clinging to the branches like frozen moths. Everything crunched under my feet, and then I heard it again, the voice, but this time it was singing, a slow, soft melody, like a lullaby. We sleep below the skin of snow, until the breath is cold and low. The frost will climb, the dark will spread, and soon the warm will all be dead. I started running, but no matter how far I went, the song followed. and then I saw it. A clearing dot at the center, a giant slab of ice, black, smooth, shining in the weak sunlight, and frozen inside it was me. Not just a reflection, it was my body, eyes shut, mouth open, reaching toward the surface of the ice like I had been trapped alive. I screamed, but the frozen me didn't move. And that's when I realized I was the reflection now, looking in from the other side. I don't know how I got out, but I woke up back in the car, engine running, frost covering the inside of the windshield, and now, no matter where I go, no matter what I do, there's always ice nearby, on doorknobs, on windows, in people's eyes. And the voice, the one in the ice, it's not whispering anymore, it's speaking clearly, louder, stronger, every hour. It says, "You are ours now. Your body is a gate, and it's almost open. If this gets out, if anyone hears this, you need to know the truth. The door in the freezer isn't just a passage, it's a wound, and something is bleeding through. It's not just the freezer anymore. The cold, it's leaking into the rest of the world. I woke up today with ice on my windows, from the inside. My heater was running, but the air still felt like a walk-in freezer. My breath fogs the mirror, but when I wipe it, my reflection doesn't move with me, it just stares. I tried going out, thinking fresh air might help, but everywhere I went, I saw signs. A thin sheet of frost on a glass door in the mall. A grocery store freezer, making a sound like breathing. A child staring at a wall, whispering, "He's here." It's spreading. The cold, the door, the thing behind it. I found frost on my bedroom floor tonight, and when I looked closely, footprints, not mine. I don't think it's coming anymore. I think it's already here. I saw him again last night, not in a dream, not in my head. I saw him through the window, standing inside my reflection, the man beneath the ice. I left my brother's house before dawn, didn't tell him why, didn't tell anyone, just got in my car and drove. The cold followed me, no matter where I went, no matter how far. It always found a way to reach me. Hotel lobbies turned cold when I stepped in. My phone screen would frost over after a few minutes. Even my breath started sounding like whispers. But what scared me most, I'm forgetting things. Little stuff at first, where I parked, what day it was, the names of people I've known my whole life. But now, sometimes I look in the mirror, and I don't recognize myself. My eyes used to be brown. Now they look cloudy, almost silver, like frozen water. And when I sleep, if I sleep, I dream of that black door. Only now, it doesn't stay closed. In last night's dream, the door opened. A staircase led downward. Steps carved from pale, frozen stone. Each one echoing with a sound I couldn't place, like ice breaking underwater. I followed it. I didn't want to, but I couldn't stop myself. My feet moved on their own. At the bottom was a frozen chamber, circular, silent. Its walls were smooth and covered in thousands of handprints. Some small, some massive, all reaching outward, like they wanted out. And in the center of the room stood a pillar of ice. Inside it, a man, tall, motionless, skin stretched tight over his bones, like plastic. His eyes were shut, but when I stepped closer, they opened. They were pure black, endless, like looking down into a frozen ocean with no bottom. And when he opened his mouth, I saw rows of teeth like broken glass. He didn't speak, not at first. He breathed, and each breath froze the air around him solid. Then, finally, he said in a voice like shattered mirrors, "You opened the door. You let us remember. Now, you must return what was taken." I woke up screaming, except it wasn't my bed. I was lying on a concrete floor, wrapped in plastic sheeting. My clothes were soaked through. My skin was red from cold burns. I was in a meat locker. No idea how I got there. The door was chained shut from the outside, and on the wall behind me, Scrawled in frozen blood were these words: "You are the key." Someone found me a few hours later, a worker from the next building over. He thought I was a squatter. I told him the truth about the freezer, the voice, the dreams, the man in the ice. He didn't laugh. He looked pale, real pale. Then he rolled up his sleeve and showed me something. On his upper arm was a birthmark, or at least it used to be. Now it looked like a door, small, black, with frost veins around it. He said, "You too." I nodded. He just said, "Then we don't have much time left." That's when I realized something horrible. It's not just happening to me. There are others, all over. People who've seen the door, heard the voice, felt the cold leaking through cracks in the world. Some are hiding. Some have vanished. Some might not even be human anymore, because this isn't a curse. It's a recruitment. The man beneath the ice doesn't want to kill us. He wants to replace us, fill our bodies with frost, empty our memories, turn us into something empty and cold. And once the door opens wide enough, it won't just be one of him, it'll be all of them. I've started hearing the countdown again, the old rusted timer from Freezer 6. Tick, tick, tick. It plays in my ears, even when I'm not near anything electrical. It's always stuck on 6 seconds, 6 days, 6 doors. I don't know what it means yet, but it's coming. And last night, in my motel mirror, he smiled again, but this time I smiled back. Not because I wanted to, because he was controlling my face. I think he's getting in. I think the man beneath the ice is melting through. This is the last video I'll ever record. If you're watching this, it means I haven't come back, because I'm not sure there's anything left to come back to. The dreams aren't dreams anymore. They're memories, not mine. His. I see through his eyes now, the man beneath the ice. I see how he was locked away, how he waited and waited, until someone stupid enough, me, opens the door again. I feel him inside me, coiled like frost in my veins. I cough now, and it's not blood that comes out, it's steam. When I breathe near a mirror, my reflection doesn't fogged out, it watches. I finally went back to the warehouse. I don't know why. Maybe to end it. Maybe to let it end. Me, it was empty, quiet, dead air. Freezer 6 was still there, humming louder than ever. The countdown on the rusted panel, it had hit 0. I stepped inside. The cold didn't hurt anymore. It welcomed me, like coming home. And at the back wall, the hidden door was wide open. But what I saw through it, it wasn't a hallway. Not anymore. It was a world made of ice and shadows and screaming faces. A frozen landscape full of statues that used to be people. I saw myself among them, a frozen version of me, smiling, and behind all of it, rising from the frost like a mountain of teeth and bone, him, the real him, the one we call the man beneath the ice. He reached out, and I felt every nerve in my body go numb. My memories gone, my warmth gone, even my name melted away. And then I heard him whisper, "You are the last key. Once you enter, there is no door back." I don't remember walking out. I just remember waking up on the warehouse floor. The freezer was gone, not just closed, gone, like it was never there. The floor smooth, the wall clean, no wires, no ice, no nothing. But I know it's not over, because now I see it everywhere, in grocery store freezers, in air conditioning vents, in the fog on people's glasses. The frost is creeping through the cracks of our world. We opened the door. We let something in soon. We won't be able to close it. I'm recording this now because my hands are starting to turn white. They look like they're made of frostbite. My eyes don't blink unless I tell them to. The voice in my head, it's not whispering anymore. It's chanting. Cold to cold. Flesh to frost. Memory to void. Open the door. Open the door. Open the I have to stop this. I have to go back. One more time, not to escape, to lock the door behind me. And maybe I can trap it again. But if I fail, if I don't come back, then don't go looking for me. And for the love of whatever warmth you still have, don't open the freezer.